Matthew Sargent cares about his city. So much so, he is always giving back. If you don't recognize the name, it's because Matt does all of his volunteer work behind the scenes, not looking for any pats on the back. He is a lifelong resident who attended the Mass Maritime Academy and then joined the Navy Reserves. During his time in the Navy, stationed on the USS Mount Whitney while on a tour of southern Italy, he made it a point to find the graves of Marlborough soldiers who died in the Battle of Anzio during World War II.
I reached out before I did the tour and said, who from Marlborough is buried there? Because the Anzio American War Cemetery is considered American, territory, American land, and that's where all the casualties from the Southern Italian campaign are buried. And I was given a couple names, Alfred Gregoire, Roland Termaine, and John Chase. And so, while we went on the tour, the cemetery was part of it, and I was with a bunch of the guys from the ship, and I said, hey, come on, help me find all the graves. We knew the plot numbers and everything, and the cemetery staff was really helpful. And I reached back out and said, well, who were these men? What units were they with? What else do we have? I wanted more of the story. They didn't just die in Italy and they're buried there. There's more to it. And there wasn't a whole lot of info. Some of the people from Marlborough that have died in the service, there's a lot more, maybe because it's sooner or maybe because they had big families and things like that. And so I said, okay, well, I'm always looking for some research project, right? Something to do. So I went down to the monuments here in front of City Hall and took a picture, and that gives me all the names. And then I started going through and finding out about them, and some of them had photos on Ancestry.com or Find a Grave. My dad growing up in the city, and he knew a different generation than I did, so he said, well, what about this name? What about that name? Or, oh, I know that family, that sounds familiar.
This led to the creation of the Marlborough Honor Roll. This includes any veteran with a connection to Marlborough by birth, life, or death.
I think right now it's 116 men just from World War II. And I'm still kind of fine-tuning some of the other ones, but it's quite a bit, and it's a lot more names than we have on the monument. So at the time, sometimes someone was born in the 20s, and by the time 1945 comes around and we're looking to put a monument up in the city, that name there's no connection, and there's no Ancestry.com in the 40s.
Sargent has a personal connection to some of the names on the honor roll.
Grandfather on both sides. My grandfather Harold and his brother Guy were both from Marlborough. And so my grandfather was a storekeeper first class with an aviation unit aboard an aircraft carrier, the USS Mission Bay. And my great uncle was with the Big Red One, so 1st Infantry Division. So he fought through North Africa, Sicily, the Omaha Beach, all the way to I think he ended in Czechoslovakia. So it's really neat, kind of when I started asking those questions as I grew up and kind of appreciated these things a little more. It was, like, oh, well, here's some pictures and here's some documents, and there was a lot of stuff that the family had, which was nice.
His love of history and veterans led him to another project he helped get off the ground, restoring gravestones of veterans.
I started just kind of researching how to clean the graves and just get involved with that. I think there was I think it was a guy in Florida, someone who was like, oh, you seem like you'd like this, and they shared it with me on Instagram, and it was this guy who would go and he would clean it all up and he would do a little research on the veteran. And I thought, wow, that's really neat. That seems like you're outside, you're doing something that is kind of related to history, but you're still outside and you're doing something for a community. And I was a little leery at first because some people with the best of intentions end up damaging stuff. So they'll clean things with bleach, or they'll use metal wire brushes or wire wheels on the stones to get that moss and growth, and they end up damaging the stones really bad. So I was very hesitant to do it at first. And then once I started doing a lot of research and even talking with some of the masons, the city did a great job down in Wilson Cemetery, which is the older section of Evergreen. And I went down and talked with the mason down there, kind of all excited, like, oh, how can I do anything? How would I do this? Can I clean them? And he suggested the D2, which is just a really environmentally friendly biological cleaner. And it's really great because you can put it right on the stone, kind of scrub it with some water, or not even do that. You can just spray it, and it will clean it by itself. The sun, the wind, the rain, it will do all that. So I started doing that, and I thought they were coming out. I mean, I think I started in Rocklawn off Stephen Street, and it was really interesting because I went down to Reuben Rice's grave, and so he was one of 3 Rice brothers that were killed from Marlborough during the Civil War. Him and his twin also died. But he survived the battle only to come home and die of dysentery. And so he died, his wife had died a year before, so his young son was also died right around the same time. So it was a very tragic story, and I wanted to pay my respects at the grave. And when I went down, it could have used some attention and everything. And once I cleaned it with the cleaner, mainly just so I could read what the stone said, it was like absolute night and day. It was from black crud and growth to, it looked brand new.
Beyond these great projects, he also started the Tag Project, which tells the stories of deceased veterans' lives. He's a member of the Sons of the American Revolution and also coordinated the Medal of Liberty ceremony that honored Marlborough veterans who died in World War II. He also was instrumental in researching the Goodnow brothers, whose name can now be found on Marlborough's newest elementary school.
I've always been interested in the Civil War, very, very interested in that. So I took pictures of the monument and just started doing the research. And then when you come to find out that there's like multiple sets of brothers that died in the war, again, I thought more than just a name on a plaque or a name on a granite monument, there's like a story behind that. And then getting involved with the Marlborough Historical Society, I went down there and I said, hello, what sort of things can you help me with? And the people down there have been really wonderful, letting me in the archives and going around and looking. I became a member, and then now I'm a trustee. And they actually had photos of the three Goodnow brothers. And so I said, this is amazing that we have photos that far back, especially of all three brothers. I thought it was really great that the city named the Goodnow Brothers Elementary School after the three of them.
Sargent is proud to be named this year's Labor Day Parade Grand Marshal and hopes more people will become aware of the ways in which the city of Marlborough recognizes its veterans.
It's a pretty big honor, and I'm pretty excited to represent some of the folks that I've been researching, and the veterans groups that have been helpful with all the research. Kind of get that story out there, and then all the stuff we've been doing in the cemeteries. So that's been it'd be really great to highlight all that and kind of get it out there to the public so more people will know about it.